Maoist Rebel News fans, what I'm going to do, since this is the end of the year, is give you my top picks for news stories of the year. Social unrest breaks out in protests in Tunisia. This eventually breaks out into the North Africa and Middle East Arab Spring. Floods strike Queensland, Australia, leaving 35 dead. In Egypt, tanks surrounding Tahrir Square try to stop protests that, 4 days later, forced Hosni Mubarak to step down as president. Right-wing extremist Jared Lee Longer opened fire on a crowd in Tucson, Arizona, killing 6, injuring 19, including U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords. The Arab Spring spreads to Yemen and Bahrain. Saudi troops eventually invade Bahrain and put the protests down. NATO forces began arming and organizing so-called rebels in a bid to overthrow the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi to prevent oil from being traded without the US dollar. An earthquake struck a place in New Zealand called Christchurch that killed 181 people. Jesus was nowhere to be found. The citizens of China called for a Jasmine revolution to sweep the country. The government in response introduced new censorship measures. A 9.0 earthquake struck Japan, killing 20,000, and nearly causes the nuclear plant to have a meltdown. NATO creates a no-fly zone over Libya as the NATO-backed rebels proved too little to fight government forces. In a 4-day period, 200 tornadoes hit 6 southern United States, killing 346 people. 2 billion losers watched Prince William marry Catherine Middleton. Dominique Strauss-Kahn, the director of the IMF, was arrested for allegedly sexually assaulting a hotel chambermaid. Osama bin Laden is captured in Pakistan and summarily executed without trial. The Canadian federal election ended with a Conservative majority, which was also voted the biggest news story in Canada for 2011. Tens of thousands of activists and unionists in Greece protest Prime Minister George Papandreou's 5-year austerity deal. Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner resigned after sending a sexually suggestive photograph of himself to a woman via his public Twitter account. Maoist Rebel News makes YouTube partnership, setting off an unending stream of jealous haters. It was also in June when LA Slutwalk leader Hugo Schweizer publicly threatened me. A famine is declared in the free market paradise of Somalia that placed 13 million people in hunger and killing at least 30,000 children. Right-wing extremist Anders Breivik went on a killing spree in Norway, killing 69 people, mostly children, to protest Muslim immigration. Casey Anthony was acquitted of the murder of her 2-year-old daughter Kaylee. Rupert Murdoch's News of the World becomes caught in the phone hacking scandal. On August 5th, Standard & Poor's said it was downgrading its rating of the U.S. government's long-term federal debt. A fatal shooting of a financially disadvantaged young man led to riots in the poor London district of Tottenham. It caused 2,800 arrests and 5 deaths. U.S. Congress works out a deal at the last minute to avoid a national default. NATO-backed forces captured the Libyan city of Tripoli. Occupy Wall Street protests begin against the 1% wealthy elite of the nation, completely ignored by the media for the first 2 weeks. On September 20, the military's don't ask, don't tell policy is ended. The 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks is commemorated in New York City. The president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, makes an official claim for statehood at the UN. October 5th, cult leader Steve Jobs dies at the age of 56. Foxconn workers in China are forced to hold a memorial for him. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi was captured by NATO-backed forces and savagely murdered on camera for the world to see. President Obama announced that all U.S. troops will be withdrawn from Iraq, leading to the war being declared over. Again. The UN announces that the world's population has hit 7 billion. The Occupy movement becomes a worldwide movement. The Arab League temporarily kicks out Syria in the wake of brutal repression of social unrest. Controversial Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi resigns. Russian President Vladimir Putin is suspected of rigging the federal election after the results were contested. The Wuhan village uprising in China sparks new social unrest and the need for land reform. Police framing victim Mumia Abu-Jamal is taken off death row after being arrested 30 years ago. On the 7th of December, North Korean leader Kim Jong-il dies of a heart attack at the age of 69. So that's all the news stories that I found had the biggest impact on the world and were the most important to me for the year of 2011. I'll see you tomorrow in the new year with a new video.